find most of my inspiration in the city itself. When I first started painting about a few years ago, I was mostly focused on painting techniques and building my own brushes and like trial and error kind of thing. But nowadays I find it more important to also focus on more kind of a social side of art. Regular moments that I find interesting on the street. It can be interesting through how the image is made up that I see, or it can be interesting in the way that it's interesting what is happening. So it just depends, and then I'm making photos or little films of it, little snapshots.
Let's say art these days is, well, I grew up in a contemporary tradition, so that's my, well, I'm 26 now, so that is my time frame I'm working in. And so I have been asked by society to tell my own story. My work is about the intersubjective space, which is a very broad term, but I try to create spaces in which the different views of people interact or interject. So I try to tell stories with my work and to present images that people can connect. You can say time or different moments in time can be taken as a complex moment. A moment in which you confront yourself and other people with different aspects on the same period of time.
I've always been a curious person, so everything I do is out of curiosity. The way my paintings and my works are made up are kind of the same, because I draw or I paint things that are in between abstract and figurative. So a lot of people won't necessarily see what they're looking at, but then when they read the title of the work or I explain to them where my inspiration comes from, then they're like, oh shit, I didn't notice it before, but now I see it. So that's what I find interesting as well, that I can actually project how I'm thinking or how I'm feeling on the viewer of the artwork.
I like that's open for interpretation anyways, because I'm very interested in a way a fountain is not working or a car is just get apart out of each other, and you imagine yourself what the car or what the fountain can do, and that's about you, and that's what art is in a way. Before I was studying art, I was for 12 years a car mechanic, so my idea was also I'm really interested in technology and new things, new upcoming things, so that's why I always try to search for something new in a way, like new techniques, and try and experiment with it.
This is an empty window on the red light district when COVID just started. This is like one of the most ugly cafes on the Van Wouwstraat in the Pijp. And they have like these curtains, and it looks so cheap, but then on the other hand, it's also so cool.
The moments of goosebumps I can have looking at other artists' works, they can be life savings, you know. There can be moments that are so important, that also have been a lot of support in difficult times. And I hope that my arts can also, some of it, can provide that to people.
I want to give meaning to other people's lives, and I want to use what I perceived as me being a bit different to good effect. I wanted to give other people different insights than they would normally have. And I had some options to do that. I wanted to study philosophy, or I wanted to study history, or I could study art. And with my small-minded 14-year-old attitude, I thought, well, I can do philosophy, but then I have to write, and people have to read that, and not everybody can read that well, and not everybody has the time, but everybody has the time to look, not really understand immediately, but people can look, and they can look again, and they can look again, and they can look again, and at some point they might understand something that I try to make them see, or well, I can try to understand people by observing them as well. So it's like, yeah, I decided to paint instead of to write because it was more accessible medium for people to understand what I said.
Art can sometimes make people feel very free, very empowered. This is also an aspect I really hope that my work can convey once in a while, this few moments of grace. And yeah, it had happened a few times as I saw people were crying looking at my work, and this is the most beautiful compliment. They project into a surface and a world I created, and they can release some tension, or they feel very connected to themselves. And sometimes not through tears of joy or sadness, but sometimes just I also experience it gives them the energy to make as well.
That's what I also hope that they have, like when they look at something, that they find it interesting, it catches their attention, but they don't necessarily know what they're looking at. And then afterwards, when they read on it or they get the explanation, they're like, oh yeah, now I can see it. So that's what I would find the most rewarding, I would say.